All right, y'all. So we're finna get into this video talking about the labor shortage. It comes from CBS, and the title is "Out of Work Americans Facing Longer Waits for New Jobs." Now, last week we did a video, and I was telling y'all why you shouldn't quit your job. Go take a look at that if you haven't. But that was from a guy who had, kind of quit his job just because he was like listening to people online demonizing 9-to-5s. Talking about he needed to quit and jump all into entrepreneurship, and he did it before he was ready and he faced the consequences of it. Now we're talking about just the average American, the amount of time that they're having to wait just to get responses back from applications. So I have a lot of thoughts about this. Before I really get started, y'all go ahead, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you drop your thoughts in the comments below. I respond to every single comment because I genuinely want to have a conversation with you guys about this. So let's go ahead and jump into it.
Job growth soared last month after a worse than expected unemployment report in October. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, more than 227,000 new jobs were added to the U.S. labor market last month.
All right, so I'm only 13 seconds in, but I already got to pause this. Here's my issue with this, right? And earlier this year, there was a thing going with the Biden administration where they were reporting like over 800,000 jobs had been added to the job market. I have two issues with this. The first issue is that whenever these major, news media outlets give us these numbers about so many jobs being added to the job market, they never talk about the industries that these jobs are in and if this is actually relevant to the average American, to the overwhelming majority of people, right? Are these jobs being placed equally in every industry, or is this, a bunch of minimum wage jobs? Are y'all just building a whole bunch of 7-Elevens up and down every road and saying that, that's jobs added to the job market? Like, they never really go in depth with this. My second issue with this is that the average American, right, like referencing what a lot of us perceive the American dream to be, which is, your 2.5 kids, husband, wife, owning a house, white picket fence, all of that. To achieve that, the average American doesn't think about a job, like odd jobs. The average American doesn't want a job, they want a career, right? So they're about to get into like unemployment numbers, right? A lot of people don't really want to admit this, but a lot of people, especially with degrees, that's a lot of the people that I relate to because that's just my environment. So that's what I'm able to speak to. A lot of people that we see with degrees, like they don't want to just take an odd job. You know what I'm saying? You do have a lot of people that will humble themselves and, go work at like an Amazon warehouse or something. But even then, that's not even an ideal scenario. On top of us dealing with a lot of employers, having these fake listings, and that is real. And I'm gonna get into, kind of an experience that I've even had with that a little bit later in the video.
That's more than 6 times the revised number of jobs that were added in October. Unemployment ticked up 0.1 of a point to 4.2%, which was in line with expectations. That's near a historic low, but CBS News found it's taking longer for hundreds of thousands of out-of-work Americans to find new jobs. That's according to Bureau of Labor Statistics data. Let's bring in Corey Staley for more on this. He's an economist at Indeed Hiring Lab. Corey, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to throw another stat at everybody. About 40% of the 7 million people who were out of work in October, so that's roughly 2.84 million people, have been looking for work for more than 15 weeks, and that's an increase of about 20% since a year earlier. What's happening here?
Yeah, that's right. So, we've really seen, as kind of a percentage of the overall unemployment, that it's taking longer and longer for those people who are out of jobs to find work. So as you say, if we kind of break things out, we're getting to where it's, 40%, getting close to 50% of these people who are staying out of the workforce longer. And as far as, why is that happening? One of the things we see and that we've seen in the last couple of years in the economy is that the labor market has cooled. And what that's meant is that there are fewer job postings, fewer openings, especially for some of the knowledge workers, in areas where we've seen layoffs in tech, media, and communications. We've also seen a pretty significant pullback in job postings on our website, and that's...
Okay, pause. So he's going in the direction of tech, right? Where I want to take this in the direction of is like, your average just job, right? Rather than career, right? We've seen in recent years in, places like California, I believe California, maybe Florida, wherever I'm mistaken, where like minimum wage is getting raised significantly, right? On top of that, on top of your average regular like employer, like low end job, a McDonald's, Taco Bell, or whatever, being put in a situation where they have to pay workers more, we're also moving into the artificial intelligence era, right? We're now at the point where when you walk into the McDonald's, there's no longer like necessarily a long line at the counter talking to the cashier to place your order. Now everybody's walking into a kiosk, right? Putting in tapping on the screen whatever you want to order and spitting out a receipt, and you just wait for the people behind the counter to make your food, call your number, and you go and pick it up, right? So the landscape is changing a lot, right? Artificial intelligence is coming in. And companies are no longer necessarily incentivized to just hire a whole bunch of people. On top of that, and this is the personal experience that I told you guys I was gonna talk about. So I currently work for the university that I graduated from, right? My job is very easy. I work in housing. So every day I'm interacting with students, I'm interacting with parents, which is why I can speak pretty easily to the average American like financial plight, because I'm speaking with people who are actively trying to build a future for themselves on a daily basis, and I just got out of college and got put in this position, so I'm kind of privy to it. Like I said, my job is relatively easy. It's not taxing at all. So a couple of months ago, I decided I was going to look for a second job just to speed up some of my investments and put a little bit more money in my pocket. I'm a sales guy, so I started to apply to a whole bunch of sales roles, and I can't tell y'all. So this is how I apply to jobs, right? I go on LinkedIn, Indeed, Glassdoor, and I always filter for under 10 or 25 applicants, whatever the website says, under like a certain amount of applicants within the past 24 to 36 hours, so within the last 1 to 3 days. And I use ChatGPT to optimize my resume based off of the job description to make sure that I'm ranking high, like in whatever applicant tracking system that the company is using. I cannot tell y'all how many denial emails I got, and it wasn't even just like, thank you for your time, we decided to go in a different direction with a different candidate. A lot of these denial letters I was getting was saying that they had already filled the position, right? But then I would go back a month later and I still see the company with the listing on the job. So I say that to say, even though it may, to an extent, like a lot of people get into like conspiracy theorist territory with the whole like companies listing fake jobs, it's real to an extent. Like especially with the now outgoing prevalence, but like especially earlier this year, when diversity, equity, and inclusion was really big, a lot of these companies were incentivized to look like they were trying to bring people in, or to be bringing people in just for the sole purpose of hitting a vanity metric, right? Not even necessarily bringing in people because they're qualified for the position, but just to be able to present an outward image to society, to make it look like the company is more progressive. And then last month, the month before, like later in this year, we all of a sudden have companies laying off their entire diversity, equity, and inclusion departments, right? So I say all this to say, it's hard out here, man. This stuff is real. But like I tell you guys, we want to have the conversation, not just for the sake of having the conversation. We want to have the conversation to see how, as a future business owner, as a future investor, how we can avoid the plight of the average American and put ourselves in a better position so that us and our families, future kids, aren't necessarily having to be subjected to everything that everybody else is going through. So in my opinion, the lesson out of this is be intentional, right? If you're not going to go to college, go into, like a more essential field, right? Go into a trade, go into the military, right? Go into something where you're going to have some kind of job security, because in my opinion, you should never be looking to get rich off of any job. The purpose of a job, in my opinion, again, y'all can combat this if you feel like I'm wrong, but the purpose of a job, of a career, is to get you, especially if you come from a background similar to what I came out of, where you didn't come for money. Everybody told you just go to college and get a job. Going to college and getting a job is to get you to the starting line, right? It's to get you out of survival mode. Once you get the job, then what's supposed to happen is your mind is supposed to start expanding, and you're supposed to start trying to break down different opportunities, trying to see, where can I expand my income? Where can I place my money to get my money to work for me? How can I, go ahead and leverage my income to go ahead and pay off this debt to be able to raise my net worth? How can I put myself in a position so I have money to then pass on to my kids, right? These are the kind of conversations that we need to be having. Again, putting ourselves in positions to avoid the plight of the average American. And the lesson here, like a lot of situations that we break down here on the channel, is that you have to be very, very intentional from a young age, from as early as you possibly can. If you're watching this and you're 50 years old, it starts right now. From as early as you possibly can, you have to be very, very intentional about where you place your effort and the industries that you want to go into, right? This is why I tell you guys so much. This is why I urge everybody to double down on either artificial intelligence or personal brand. If you want to start a business, you need to double down into either one of those areas, because that's the future, right? We have to be thinking about these things as we're thinking about how the income opportunities that we're going to be pursuing in the future. But I'm gonna go ahead and let them rock out and let the rest of this video play through.
Led to some difficulties in finding work.
A couple of other trends, Corey, that we're finding is that companies are holding out on making new hires, and that also there's less movement. People aren't leaving their jobs to go get another job. Why are some of those things happening? What are the factors?
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of different reasons, but I think as we talk about why people do or do not leave their jobs, one of the big things that's often an indicator of is confidence, right? And so we see that fewer and fewer people have been quitting. After the pandemic, we had this big great resignation, where people left their jobs and they moved around, and the labor market was really dynamic. And a lot of that has now.
And it's really interesting to see that, considering statistically, it's been proven, at least now in modern times, that the way for you to increase your income substantially, if you do choose to stay in a job and work a career, is, every 2 to 3 years, you need to be looking to move up or out within your company, right? You need to be actively negotiating your salary. Your salary needs to be on the forefront of your mind. You can't take a passive approach to your finances. But with the current climate, people's fear is greater than their ambition.
Come to an end. The great resignation's at an end now, and now we're seeing that people are sitting by. And part of that, I think, comes back to that confidence, right? As you sit and you watch fewer job postings, fewer openings as you're out looking for work, and it's taking you longer to find jobs, that naturally weighs on confidence and your desire to, go out and to quit your job to maybe find a different one.
I mean, it is tough out there for people looking for a job. I have a friend who's unemployed, and he'll send me the rejection emails that he's getting just hours after applying. Some of them have typos. He's like, they're not even pretending to look at my application. What is your advice to people searching for a job who may be really frustrated?
Yeah, I mean, so as we talk about a lot of this is one of the challenges as a job seeker today is, when you apply for a job, you're going to go off and you're going to send it through an applicant tracking system, a computer that's going to review your resume in many cases. And what that means for you as a job seeker is you need to be making sure as you're reviewing your resume, as you're going out and applying for these jobs, that you're really customizing, each application to the job that you're applying for, right? And that you're trying to match the words that employers.
Y'all, this is not even optional anymore at this point, right? And it really is unfortunate that this is where we're at, where you don't even really have a human looking at your application the majority of the time. They're filtering for certain keywords, and if you're not hitting those keywords, your application is instantly out the door. Now, the tip that I gave y'all that I've used is that I think that you should go into the job description, copy and paste it, right? Put that in the Chat GPT, go to the experience or the skills section of your resume and tell Chat GPT to edit the descriptions of whatever you have on your resume to rank highly in the applicant tracking system based off of the job description that you put in there, right? That's something that definitely can help. I did see some results doing that, although I was still getting those rejection letters like I told y'all, but I also wasn't in a position where I was frantically searching for a job because I already had one job. I just wanted a little bit of extra money in my pocket. But yeah, y'all, it's definitely unfortunate. This is not even an option anymore. You can't just take one resume and be using that to apply to every single job.
Are using, because when your resume goes into the computer and the computer checks to see if you have those skills on your resume, you want to be able to show that you're able to do those things that the job is asking for. And so I think that's an important part of really breaking through, hopefully, some of those initial canned responses that job seekers are reporting seeing, so that they can get to the stage of talking to a hiring manager and getting a job.
It is good advice, and good luck to all the people searching out there. Corey Staley, thank you.
Good luck to all the people searching out there, man. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but this is the reality. So, you guys let me know what you think down in the comments below. Like I said, I'll respond to every comment because I genuinely want to have a conversation with you guys about this. Let me know what your advice is to the average American searching for a job, experiencing these long wait times right now in the current job market.